Hey, what's up guys, this is Hamro GSM and we're about to make our first ever video review. And what better gadget to start with than the brand new inclusion in the Samsung Galaxy series, the Samsung Galaxy Grand 2. So let's begin our review. Especially for the Nepalese customers, this pack comes with 900 MB data package from Ncell, valid for 3 months. The back cover tells about the 3G and the 4G networks it runs on, its CPU, its GPU, an 8 megapixel primary camera and a massive 2600 mAh battery backup. Now let's unbox, and it is the Grand 2 itself on the top. We'll talk much more about it later in the review, so let's put it aside for now. Next, we see the Ncell recharge pack worth 900 MB of data usage. Just scratch it, use the pin and surf away. Warranty card, and you sure don't want to lose it. The user guide to guide you through the use. And then the 2600 mAh powerhouse battery. Check out the Samsung hallmark. Yep, it is genuine. And regardless, this is a massive battery backup at our hand. Next, we see the earbuds. Then there is the standard USB 2.0 cable, which both juices up the phone and connects it to the computer, and the wire is of a comfortable length. And then it is the charger plug. Looks sleek and has the Samsung logo and the hallmark. But the USB pin, it is on the side, not on the top, which is a bummer since it ends up taking a lot of space. And last but not the least, the earphones. Samsung branded earphones that are factory made and promise to pack in a solid music experience. Now let's review the phone, but first let me get rid of this protective layer here. And we see the 5.2-inch Gorilla Glass display. On the right there is the power key, as it is with every Samsung Galaxy smartphone. Then on the top there is the 3.5mm jack for the audio, and then on the left there are the volume keys, and then in the bottom we can see the USB port to connect to the computer as well as charge. And this phone is much slimmer than Grand 1. And now the back cover, and they have used the idea of fake leather from Note 3. And I find it rather attractive, and it does look cool. And what else is there on the back? There's the 8 megapixel camera, then speakers to the right and the LED flash to the left, and the Samsung logo right below it. And in the front we have the 2 megapixel secondary camera, to whose left there are the 2 sensors, and right below the screen there's the home button. Now let's do some shape and size comparison between the S3 and the Grand 2. And we can see the display size in Grand 2 is much larger, and it weighs slightly heavier at 168 grams. S3 on the other hand feels very light, very light indeed, and at the same time it packs in surprisingly good specs in comparison to the Grand 2. Now let's switch on the phone already. And it takes us to the home screen, which you can see is vividly colorful. And why is it so? Because the resolution in this phone is 720p, and the pixel per inch, the density of pixels, is 280 ppi. With a high resolution and a higher DPI, you get an awesome picture quality with sharper images. You can zoom in high definition pictures without any distortions in their pixels at all. Now let's check out the core specifications of Grand 2 using CPU-Z. Here let's start with the CPU itself. We can see the CPU is of ARM Cortex A7 version with 4 cores, and they are the cores from 0 to 3. They are clocked up to a maximum 1.19 GHz, and the GPU is of Adreno 305, which is rated as very fast indeed. And next we go to the system informations. In the system information, we'll pay our prior concern to the screen resolution, which is 720 by 1280, and then the screen density, which is of 320 dpi, which is very good indeed. The total system RAM is around 1.3 GB, out of which 48%, that is let's say around 676 MB, is usable at the moment. And then comes the battery specification, then the sensors. There are 5 major sensors used here: the magnetic, proximity, light, auto rotation, and the orientation sensor. In the storage department, it has a total of 8 GB of storage, out of which only 4.76 GB is usable, which is a huge bummer, since you'd at least expect a 16 GB of memory from a higher-end Galaxy smartphone, and upon that, bigger apps require more space. Another feature worth mentioning is the multi-window feature. It is a simple feature where two apps can be used within the same window. For instance, let's say you want to run your browser. So what you do, you basically run your browser in the upper window of your mobile screen. And at the same time, you can check your messages in the lower window right below the browser window. This is how you use a powerful processor at your disposal. And it is also worth mentioning that Galaxy Grand is not the first Galaxy mobile to use this feature. And if you find the screen rather large to use with a single hand, you can just use the one hand use for all screen feature. It is a simple feature which will minimize the window to one side of the mobile, either to the top, to the bottom, to the right or to the left. And once you use it, it will enhance the entire mobile experience. Now it is time to run the full benchmark test. And in the performance department, it does falter behind some of the top-notch smartphones like S3, S4 and the Note series. But again, we see that it packs in surprisingly good results, especially when it is flagged against major flagship phones. Let us also do the Antutu benchmark test. And it gets a score of 16099. Both CPU and GPU scores are good, but the RAM score is surprisingly low. Now let's talk about the camera in Grand 2. And as usual with the top-notch Galaxy mobiles, this has an amazing camera. An impressive 8 megapixel shooter on the back that takes 1080p videos. The autofocus is sharp, low light performance are very good, and it doesn't have optical image stabilization, but again most of the phones do not have optical image stabilization. And then when we go towards the camera features, we see they are full of many options, and worth mentioning is the burst mode, which is very good. So guys, that's all to our first review. So what do you guys think? Is Grand 2 worth a good buy or not? Do give a thumbs up if you like the review and send in your suggestions, and also hit the subscribe button for more reviews to come in the future. And yes, a big thanks to Pratex for their support. This is Hamro. Goodbye until the next review.